Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Sony's new interesting lens, that is Sony 50mm f1.2 G Master. So let's dive right into it. Now, first thing, we have to understand a bit of context that goes into this. That is, lens is the eye of the camera. You can have a $1,000 camera, $2,000 camera, $5,000 camera. It does not matter if the lens is garbage. A garbage in, garbage out will happen. So you have to understand, lens is the eye. And the biggest hurdle for photographic company is that lens is not just science. If you go to NASA and it's like, hey, can you make me an awesome lens? They're like, dude, got this, no problem. But here's the deal. Why the heck the same thing can't be done by other engineers in other fields? Because there is an art involved to it. You can easily notice that there are many times people go back to this old lens that is like 1970s 1980s, and you can do all sort of scientific tests with it, like, dude, it has too much chromatic aberration, dude, it has too much vignetting. But here's the people are paying for those imperfection, because if you make something too perfect, you may not like the outcome. And not everybody is doing journalistic work, not everybody is doing museum art piece. Many times you want to, like, let's say, take a photograph of a person. You don't want to, okay, there is this crater here, there is this Gale crater here, there is this Grand Canyon here. You don't want that. You don't want that. And like, you pay attention to the movie industry, they actually have a lens filter. Their sole job is there just to make a person look a bit more flattering by kind of blurring it down. And in very old cinema, you can notice that, like, they used to put Vaseline on top of the lens, because that's the whole thing. If you make something too sharp, you may not like the outcome. Now, for scientific things, that's absolute. It's like, dude, give me the as sharpest as possible. But for basically photography, there is a bit of art. So the only way to handle this, to understand this, you need a bit of experience to handle this. Because art and science, how do you mix them? How much do you remove vignette? Because, like, you go to Instagram, like, what are the primary filters people apply? Vignetting, chromatic aberration. Like, they apply these sort of filters that engineers, like, have to work 24/7/365 to remove those things. So that's the whole thing. And another aspect from photographer's point of view, lenses are your primary expenditure. If you start photography, you will think, hey, dude, this camera, man, no matter which you are buying, even if you are buying Sony A1, that will soon become just like a minor part, and your lens collection would be your primary financial investment. So that matters a lot. And in this game of lenses and cameras, Nikon had an early start, quote unquote, and they started from 1946, 75 years of experience. So some serious experience there. Then we are talking about Canon. Now, Canon is also has some serious experience, that is from 1935, that is 86 years. So you are talking about something that is old, that is experienced, and that experience allows you to figure out that blend of things. Like, there are people who will say, hey, I only use camera lens because that had a bit of that blue tint, I like that. Like, there are people who like that. There are people, dude, if it's not a Nikon lens, I'm not touching it. There are other people, dude, like Canon lenses, that, dude, the red tone, man, that's awesome. There are other companies, like there are other people who simply don't care. Just give them a good lens, sharp lens, they got this everything in the post-production. So that's up to you. Now, compared to these giants, Sony started the first time they actually. Now, Sony is a very old company. Be mindful of that, and they have been making digital equipment in, like, very early on TV era. They are old, they're experienced, but their digital department, they're like something similar to this, started as early as 2010. And if you watch their very early Sony camera reviews, it was like a joke at that point in time. Is that in future everybody's gonna buy Sony body, because people notice that, like, from day one, like, Sony is making a body that is way ahead of everyone else. It's just that their lens lineup was like a laughing matter at that point, and flat out they were not enough lenses. So Sony was like, you're gonna buy Sony's body, you're gonna buy a Metabones adapter, then you're gonna connect Canon lens. Canon is drive-by-wire, that's why it's easy to do. Nikon does have that aperture lever that makes it difficult. So that was the laughing matter. But Sony did something amazing. First, they opened up their E-mount, and they're like, okay, E-mount is open, except image stabilization, you can add everything, like proper autofocus, rather than rather than trying to figure some things out. Like, you can inherently make this thing natively, like how Micro Four Thirty is quote unquote open. So Sigma and Tamron both can make first party lenses for Sony. That allowed them to fulfill their lens lineup very quickly. Like, they started it, and tada, they already have now lenses. So in 2020, they have more than enough lens selection. But many times people will notice that Sony's lenses were like Gen 1 product. You need Gen 2 to Gen 3 to, like, really shine. So this is Sony's answer, f1.2. Sony already have many 50mm because 50mm is very desired by a lot of people. You may not like it, but I can guarantee you there's more than enough photographer in this world that there is a severe demand of 50mm. It's called Nifty 50 for a reason. Now, at this point in time, there was a conception around basically Nikon and Canon created by these company itself, is that because these company are creating a larger mount and they're doing from scratch, they have much larger hole. That hole, basically the mount hole, compared to Sony's 43mm versus Canon's 54mm and Nikon's huge 55mm. That simply means Sony inherently cannot make lenses that have large aperture, and it was compounded by the fact that if you go pay attention to Canon's new R lineup, all of them are basically prime systems, f1.2, f1.2, and you go to Sony system, there is no f1.2, and like people started to actually believe that, hey dude, that means even if you like Sony's body and if you want that f1.2 kind of bokeh, you're never gonna get it simply because the hole is too small. Now anybody who knows camera history, they know like there were like film cameras that had a f0.5, like that was a comedy lens made just to show off in a tech demo, but it was not actual thing. But you get the point. Like we know for a fact that it can be done. So Sony is like, okay, I'll show you how to make f1.2 on a tiny system. And like basically Nikon tried to show off like they can really do this, like, you know, large aperture thing. They made Noct lens, which is f0.95. Now this lens is by definition awesome, but does not have autofocus, and not to mention don't even think about buying it because like freaking $8,000 and most of the time out of the stock. So good luck. Now this lens, 50mm f1.2 G Master. Now Sony has already experience making you know, basically 50mm f1.4, f1.8. they have experience and they have made good lenses, but none of those lenses were like, whoa, like, you know, like holy damn, how the heck this is this good. So what Sony did it's quite amazing thing, almost impossible. They made it lighter, flat out. Many people will simply say shut up and take my money. Then they made it smaller, shut up and take my money. And then they made it cheaper. Whoa. So it's almost like a trolling cost. It's like, oh, Nikon is like $2,200, Canon is $2,100, let's make our $2,000 just to troll them. Like I know for a fact that this lens would have costed them. And there are some videos that are 1 year ago, like uploaded 1 year ago. They were like the rumor of this lens was there. So I think Sony has been working on this puppy for a long time, and it does show. And flat out, every Tom, Dick and Harry who got their hand on this, flat out, there is no comparison for this puppy. Not in Canon, not in Nikon, not in Sigma, not in Tamron. There is no comparison. You buy this 50mm f1.2, there is nothing better, scientifically speaking. Like basically everything you can test, basically how smooth the background blur is, how non-busy, even the aperture blade is like almost a laughing matter. Like, you know, one has aperture blade of 10, another has 11, like one has 9. Guess which has 9. So this has 11. So fundamentally everything scientifically that can be done better with this camera, basically from low chromatic aberration to low vignetting to every corner to corner sharpness, they made it possible. Flat out, there is no competition where it's like, dude, I bought this 50mm, it's not as sharp as like you know, Canon or Nikon, which was the case with first generation lenses. This second generation, yeah, no. Sony and Canon, basically Canon and Nikon, not good enough, flat out compared to this. Now I'm talking about the scientific part. Be very mindful. There are people who still like to, Sony is a bit too sharp for me, or I do not like the color, or I do not like the micro color. That's up to you. That's art part of the lens equation. But scientifically testable data, the most greatest lens at this point in time you can buy. And now, is there any issue? And I think because they wanted to make it smaller, they did compromise on basically focus breathing. Now, does this lens have the worst focus breathing? No, hell no. I'm using a lens that has much worse focus breathing than this, and it will be an issue for you if you're doing a video and you're doing autofocus between infinity and near. Now again, if you are like, you know, moving bit and forward and backward, it's not gonna make too much of a difference. But if you're like, you know, if you're like pulling focus from a very large distance, then yes, it will make a variable issue where you have to be like, I may need to crop in a bit, or maybe use 8K mode just to crop that. That's up to you, but that's only a video issue. And given the fact this is not a video lens, you cannot tangibly complain for that. So it is quite amazing what Sony did here. This is Gen 2 lens, and flat out it's like, allow me to show you how to make proper lens, which is smaller, lighter and cheaper. Now let's talk about some, when you are making lens that is f1.2, it is idiotically difficult to do autofocusing. Now same way Sony re-engineered something at core level, even at like this mature technology of photographic camera, like re-engineering the camera shutter, which every Tom, Dick and Harry is like, every camera company is like, dude, it's mature technology, we don't have to redo it. Sony did that, and that's how they got that 400th of a second flashing. So same thing is done here. Like Sony's second gen lens system, you pay attention to their websites, all the second gen, they have this two element design. The idea is, it's no matter what kind of motor you have, it's always easier to move two things little distance rather than making one thing that moves large distance. And given there's the lens optic, the freaking size of the lens element is, dude, like the inertia required for the moving that system is too damn high. So they are like, have two systems that move and they compensate for each other, and this allows them to have flat out no competition. And given the fact that Sony's body already had amazing algorithms, because for autofocus you need three things. You need a lens that is goddamn fast enough, you need an algorithm that freaking detects it, and then you need a processing system that is advanced enough to grab it. Basically, I got this. You don't want to be like, okay, I got this, oh, I forgot it. Like that, what happens with Panasonic is like, I got this, I got it. It does not stick, does not have the stiction. This puppy has the speed, it has the stiction. It's one of the fastest, and I have provided a video down below that you can check it, where it's like person is walking, like this is the same setup, person is walking from the side and just going across the frame, just to see when each camera company, basically Nikon, Canon and Sony, captures the person. Now here's the deal. You walk into Nikon system, you start walking from here, Nikon captures you. You start with Canon, captures you. Sony, you got into the frame, Sony is like, hey dude, what are you doing here? So flat out, there is no competition. And if you like do, no matter how many tests, you will find this is fundamentally awesome, simply because while Canon and Nikon does know how to make good lens in terms of art wise, technology wise, they are like, dude, we know how to make this motor system. It's just the same thing. That's why their motors are still noisy compared to Sony, which is like dead silent. And that's why I specified, because Sony has already worked with video industry for long enough. They know how to make silent lens. Linear motors are there, like bread and butter, quote unquote. So flat out, the autofocus, even with this narrow focus, is mind-boggling and awesome. Like I'm pretty sure if they actually wanted to build, they can troll Nikon by building a knocked lens, like equivalent lens, and give autofocus in that, just for trolling Nikon. So this is flat out makes Sony a tangible system, where they're like, dude, at this point in time, if you're complaining that Sony does not have lenses that are comparable to that, you're only looking at Gen 1 lenses. And this shows that like you won't have that issue, oh no, I'm not going into Sony because they can't do a f1.2. And so for some industry, f1.2 is desirable now because your competitors have that, so you have to have that. You can't be like, hey, oh, my photographers don't have that kind of background blur because I don't use. You can't say that to your clients. So fundamentally, I do understand the desire for that. And now Sony is like, no, we can do this. We got this. We got the photographers that bought our camera. We got this. So this was my presentation on Sony's new 50mm f1.2 G Master lens. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.